The next award we have to give today is called the Professionalism Award. The Professionalism Award is being presented to the Honorable Evelyn Wilson. Evelyn, will you please come up? Judge Wilson is current president of the Bar Foundation and a close colleague of mine, and I appreciate her being here today. The Professionalism Award recognizes an individual who has practiced law for 10 years or more, whose conduct, honesty, integrity, and courtesy best exemplifies the ideals of our legal profession and encourages other lawyers to follow the highest standards of the legal profession. Judge Wilson, as I indicated, currently serves as Chief Judge of the 3rd Judicial District of Shawnee County, having been appointed to the bench in 2004, and has had to deal with budgetary constraints and major changes in court procedures such as e-filing. She's the current president of the Kansas Bar Foundation and has been instrumental in helping the Bar Foundation be able to retire the debt of the Improved Law Center. As a member of the National Association of Women Judges, Evelyn is a frequent speaker on behalf of the Informed Voters Project, the importance of the judiciary, and the workings of the judiciary. Judge Wilson also serves as chair of the Kansas Sentencing Commission. As Chief Judge, she has assisted her judicial district in maintaining a high level of professional service to those individuals who avail themselves of the services of the court. Judge Wilson, congratulations.
When I heard I was going to win this award, I was literally struck dumb. And that's saying something, if you know me. My father said when I graduated from high school, something that came to me when I heard I had gotten this award and would be allowed to say a few words. My dad was a smart man, and he was a hardworking man, but he was a man of few words. And this is what he told me, very seriously, on that day. He said, "Evelyn, always try to live your life so that you can look yourself in the mirror." Well, I wanted to do what my father wanted me to do, and I knew that was important, but how do you do that? So I have many people to thank, particularly a few who taught me how to do that. The first is my husband of almost 32 years, who has supported me throughout my career to do whatever I could do as an attorney. And that was a lot of work sometimes. Thank you, Mike. And then I had some special mentors who taught me how to practice law. Elmo Lund was my first employer. He took me to my first Bar Association annual conference. And he took me to depositions that he did so I could see how it was done. And then he went with me to depositions after I thought that I could try to do this, so that if I had a question, he was there to support me. He taught me never to be afraid of doing what my job was, to do it honestly and with integrity, because I could see that's what he demanded of himself. That example followed with Tom Wright and Dale Summers, who taught me to be professional, to work with integrity, no matter the cost, and also to be empathetic to the people who were less fortunate than I was. I have learned over the years to confirm what I thought when I first thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and that is that being a lawyer is one of the highest callings there can be. I love lawyers. I appreciate lawyers very much. And finally, what I have learned from all of you is that you spend your time, your talent, and your treasure to defend the judiciary, even when it's hard, even when you don't have to. And I have known since I've been a judge that many times you all speak for us when we cannot speak for ourselves, because you understand that it is so important to have a strong third branch of government. Some of you have heard me say before that Dale Summers, who is now a bankruptcy judge, told me once, "I will always be a member of the bar associations because the bar associations are the advocates for the lawyers, for the third branch of government, and they make sure that we survive because sometimes we're a nuisance to the other two branches of government." I wish I could tell you how appreciative I am of this award, how much I can thank you. But my mother used to say, she studied philosophy and she spoke a little more flowery than my dad did. But when I said I wish I could do something that she thought might be worthwhile, she said to me, "Evelyn, if wishes were horses, then beggars would ride." So in some small way, I want to thank the lawyers by doing something. I have written an article about how important I think the annual bar conference is, just because we are lawyers. No matter what we do, whether we're plaintiffs' lawyers, defense lawyers, government lawyers, just lawyers. And I'm going to go forward and use whatever influence that I have, I promise you, as in some small way to thank you what you have done for me, to use my influence to encourage the judges in my district and the judges in any other district not to have hearings during the annual conference for the Kansas Bar Association. I guess it was an aha moment that struck me during this annual bar convention that it's going to be a lot easier for the lawyers to go if they don't have hearings. That might keep them at home. So I hope that will help just a little bit, and truly this is meaningful to me beyond measure. Thank you.
Marilyn Harp, will you please come forward? She's to receive the Distinguished Service Award. I've known Marilyn for years. The Distinguished Service Award recognizes an individual for continuous, long-standing service on behalf of the legal profession or the public, rather than the successful accomplishment of a single task or service. The standards for this award require the recipient to be a lawyer who has made a significant contribution to the altruistic goals of the legal profession or the public, and again, is only given when there is a worthy recipient. Marilyn's tireless efforts to ensure access to justice for our fellow Kansans through Kansas Legal Services serves as an inspiration to both private and KLS attorneys, reminding us of the historic obligation of lawyers to give back to society. As funding sources have diminished, Marilyn has aggressively and creatively discovered alternative sources of funding and resourcefully managed the scant funding KLS has maintained. Marilyn constantly looks for ways to expand legal services for the poor, incorporating advances in technology, securing pro bono commitments from private attorneys, and even developing the new emeritus rule which allows retired and inactive attorneys to provide pro bono legal services through KLS. Her work in developing and revamping forms for self-represented litigants has been recognized by various legal service organizations in other states who now use those forms as a model for expanding access to justice. Marilyn is a former KBA board member and is well known in our state as a champion for pro bono legal services. Her work has directly benefited our fellow Kansans and has clearly enhanced the reputation of the legal profession in this state. Congratulations.
I've been with Kansas Legal Services about 40 years at this point, and it wasn't too long into the job that I realized that the availability of civil legal services was not going to meet all the needs out there. In fact, I think the statistics are that we have one attorney for about every 12,500 poor people. So as hard as our staff work, they just aren't going to meet that need. And so some ideas and some ways of finding some other solutions were high on my priority list. At the same time, or a few years later, the courts realized that they had an awful lot of people showing up in court as self-represented litigants. In fact, I think the statistics in our state are that in some cases 70% of the cases in family court have one or have at least one self-represented litigant. And in Chapter 61 court, the statistics are even higher about unrepresented people. So the courts began looking for solutions, and it was just a great partnership to work together. So the status of things now is that there are 11 courts that have help centers. KLS has been proud to be a part of all of those in some way, making forms available. But truly, as Sarah mentioned, the best resource we can bring to the table is by sponsoring either inactive or retired attorneys who still have a piece to give and provide training and support and really the cover for them to continue working on a pro bono basis in some of these self-help centers or with our elder hotline or other ways. So there's never an end to legal practice. I hear that all the time. Some people choose to make their active their license a retired status, but that's not an end either. So I hope at the point in time each of you hit that point, you'll think about how to do that. And thank you very much for this award.
So the next award we have to give today is the Phil Lewis Medal of Distinction. The Phil Lewis Medal of Distinction is being awarded this year to James Logan. Mr. Logan couldn't be with us today, as I understand Jim Oliver will be accepting the award on his behalf. This award is reserved for individuals or organizations who have performed outstanding service at the state, national, or international level in the administration of justice, science, the arts, government, philosophy, law, or any other field offering relief or enrichment to others. This award is only given when we have a worthy recipient, and we have one with us today. The awards committee was shocked that this gentleman had not actually received this award from the KBA in the past. Jim was born in a small town in Kansas, but started his law career at a large law firm in Los Angeles. He and his wife grew homesick for Kansas and came back and joined the KU law faculty in 1957. He soon became dean. Along the way, he taught as a visiting professor at Harvard, Texas, Stanford, Michigan, and gave up numerous job offers to stay in his beloved Kansas. As a law professor, he taught about 15 different subjects. In his role as dean, the law school student body was increased, the endowment was increased, the first chaired professorship was endowed, the trial judge law clerk clinic, the defender clinic were both established, along with the legal assistance for prisoners program. He started the KU Law Alumni Board and basically transformed the KU School of Law. Jim left the law school to run for the U.S. Senate, but that office was subsequently filled by Bob Dole. He opened a law firm and in 1976 got involved with Jimmy Carter's presidential campaign and was subsequently appointed by President Carter as a circuit judge for the 10th Circuit. He then served as a circuit judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals from 1977 to 1998. Jim chaired the committee that rewrote the Federal Rules of Appellate Procedure from 1993 to 1997. And in 1990, he was given the ABA's American Law Institute Award for his lifetime contributions to post-law continuing education. He also wrote a book on the history of the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals and founded the 10th Circuit Historical Society in 2003. He's written numerous law review articles as well. Jim left this life tenure job to return to private practice and only recently retired, having concentrated his practice on estate planning, general business, the advice on appeals, and serving as an arbitrator, mediator, and expert witness. There are few who have done more work than Jim Logan. The magnitude of it is almost overwhelming. A recent KU Law article observed that Kansas, KU, its law school, and the community have a great reason for pride in the accomplishments and contributions of James K. Logan. Jim is 88 years old now, and the Bar Association is proud to present this year's Phil Lewis Medal of Distinction to him. I urge you to read his full biography on the website. It is quite amazing.
When I talked to Jim about receiving this award, come on up, Jim. He indicated he may not be here. Some of you may have heard that he's not in good health, and that's why Jim's accepting this award on his behalf.
I had to just look at it. It's beautiful. And on Jim's behalf, it's an honor to be here with you. I'm embarrassed to be here for a couple of reasons. After you heard about Judge Logan, you can see I am totally unworthy to stand in for him. And the other reason is I had taken a few years ago a job as a delegate from our church to the annual conference of the United Methodist Church, which means I can't come to this meeting. It's every year, it's the same time, and I would echo Evelyn's sentiments that this is a really important thing to attend and be part of your bar association, and I apologize that I haven't been here for a few years. My connection with Jim Logan goes way back. I was one of the last 2 law clerks for his predecessor. And I remember Judge Hill calling me in 1976 and telling me that because his wife had had a stroke and that he was going to have to take more time off from work and had decided to take senior status. And that would open a new position for a federal judge. And he said I could either serve out my term if I wanted to, but we might not have a lot of work to do because he had to take less, or I could go. And I thought about it not very long and said, I think I'll go. And I went to Folston-Seefkin to become a practicing lawyer, where I've remained today. Then Judge Logan was appointed as Judge Hill's successor. I argued my first case in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals to Judge Logan. I lost. 25 years later, I convinced him I was actually right. After he came to practice with us. And I remember coming to Olathe for my first meeting with Judge Logan to talk about whether we'd want to practice together. And he sold me on it, and for the last 17 years, we've become very close, and it's been a great honor to work with him. So he's suffering from cancer, and was told on Monday of this week. Last Friday I went to visit him. I thought he'd be here today, but by Monday he was feeling worse, and his doctors had told him they had no more treatment for him, and we're sorry he can't be here today. But he did ask me to share these words for you, and one of the things I learned after practicing with him is I always thought of him as this Ivy League. He was the dean of the KU Law School by the time he was 31. Then he was the judge that I looked up to for 21 years. And I was amazed at how quickly he shed the title judge. I was wanting to call him Judge Logan. I thought, that's what I should do. But he was just Jim. So here are his remarks that he asked me to bring to you. Thank you very much. I am greatly honored to receive this award. I am among the most fortunate people in this world. I have had 3 distinct and interesting careers in law. 2 years out of law school, I became a teacher at the KU Law School. I was young. The students were young. But some were as old or almost as I was. The school was small. I taught every student in at least one class. I loved them and the classroom. It was less fun when I became dean because of the fundraising and administrative responsibilities. But we were beginning expansion of the student body and hiring new faculty. It was a great 11 years. I left in 1968 for an 8-week plunge to try to become an elected politician. It was unsuccessful. But I learned an incredible amount in those few weeks, and I think it helped me become a judge later. I then joined Payne & Jones in Olathe, where I entered full-time law practice. I greatly enjoyed law practice. I liked my partners and I liked getting to meet and know clients. Many clients became friends and I was reluctant to leave when I became judge. Then the president appointed me as an appellate judge in the federal system near the end of 1977. I suppose being appointed an appellate judge high in the system might be the dream job for a bookworm former law professor. No matter what we might have thought being an appellate judge would be like, we did not make law except in rare instances. We were bound by the findings of the lower courts, by the words of the statutes we were dealing with, by the precedents already established, and the Supreme Court hovered over us to correct any mistakes they deemed we made. I liked the work, though it was hard and lonely. One year, one of my law clerks reminded me that other than the mailman and the janitor, only 2 people visited my Kansas office in a year. After nearly 21 years as a judge and eligible for retirement, I retired completely and went back to private practice, first with my son and brother, and when Max retired, then with Folston Siefkin to help them expand in the Kansas City area. I was of counsel to them for 13 years. You can tell how much I liked private practice as I was still doing a little on my 86th birthday when I was in the hospital recovering from colon cancer surgery. Finally, enough. Again, I thank the bar for this award. Though most of my contributions and work with the Bar Association itself were before many of you were born, I have been a member for 63 years, and this, in the KBA among the lawyers, is my place in professional life. Thank you.
What I think is an interesting tidbit about Judge Logan is the fact that he was awarded the Rhodes Scholarship, but he didn't accept it. Rather, he stayed home to be able to be with his fiancée at the time. I was asked by members of his firm, if you will, he touched a lot of people's lives, whether it was through the law school, whether through his position in private practice, or as a judge, he's touched a lot of lives of people here. And I have been given address information for him, and if you could, I think he would really appreciate hearing from you and having someone write notes. So please stop and pick up this information for Jim.
It's been an honor and a privilege to serve as the president of the Kansas Bar Association for this past year. This is the point in the program, the point in the annual meeting where historically I would pass the gavel to the incoming president. Unfortunately, the incoming president this year, Bruce Kent, passed away this year. And so he is not available to accept the gavel as much as I would like to pass it on to him, and as much as I would like to see and talk to him today. We do have with us today his wife, Catherine Foke, and his daughter, Krista Allen. And on behalf of the Bar Association, and in my role as president, we do have a gavel to pass on to Bruce and recognize him as president of the Bar Association that he so dearly loved and that he was so determined to make it to the presidency of. I want to talk a little bit about Bruce. Bruce was born on December 15th, 1943. He was born in Lincoln, Nebraska. He passed away May 15th, 2018. He grew up in Salina and Norton, Kansas, where he graduated from Norton High School in 1963. And if you spoke to him as recently as last year, he'd still talk to you about graduating from high school there. He was a proud Wildcat, graduated from the Kansas State University in Manhattan, Kansas, and he loved his Wildcats. He graduated in 1967. He received his Juris Doctorate degree from Washburn University in 1970, where he served as president of the law school, student association, and he was a member of the Law Review and a member of Phi Alpha Delta Legal Fraternity. He was honored by serving as the student representative and dedication speaker when the new Washburn Law School building was dedicated. After law school, he joined the Ryan Law Firm in Norton, Kansas. He was elected Norton County Attorney, served for a couple of years there. And I gather as part of that, he gained a love of politics. He eventually obtained a Master's of Law degree from the University of Miami, Coral Gables in Florida in 1973, with a Master's of Law in Taxation. And he returned to the practice of law at Norton, Kansas upon receiving that degree. He opened a firm in Hayes, Kansas as Ryan Kent & Wichman, practiced in Hayes until 1988, and practiced from 1988 to 1989 in tax law as a U.S. senior trial lawyer in the Office of General Counsel for the United States Department of Treasury. He returned again to Salina and practiced with another firm. From 1991 to 1993, he served as chief counsel for the Department of Human Resources for the state of Kansas. He was very active in politics, a very active member of the Kansas Democratic Party, and he loved to talk about politics and would talk to you about what you thought about any race you wanted to talk about in the state or in the nation. He served as the first congressional district chairman and attended many state and national party conventions. He was a voracious fundraiser for many local, state, and national campaigns. And during these fundraising events, he was not afraid to make an ask for money and then make another ask again after he'd given your first contribution. In 1993, he was appointed by President Clinton as regional administrator for the Region 8 of the Small Business Administration in Kansas City, and he served in that capacity until 2000. The last position he held before retirement was as counsel to the Department of Planned Giving at the Kansas State University Foundation in Manhattan. Bruce was active in the Kansas Bar Association throughout his career, even when he was practicing in other areas of the country. He served in multiple leadership positions in the Bar Association and also served as the president of the foundation at one time. He would have been the first individual, I believe, to have served as president of both the foundation and the Bar Association itself. Bruce is survived by his wife and his daughter and his son and several grandchildren, and he will be sorely missed, and we wish that he could be here today to take over the presidency of the Bar Association. Yes, we can.
Technical difficulties, I'm sorry. You're fine.
Bruce wanted to be the president of this organization for many years, and he would love to have been here. So thank you very much.
I want to remind the recipients that we will be taking pictures over here. This concludes our awards presentation part of the program. Thank you all for coming, and thanks to Carol and to Greg. I also want to thank the members of the awards committee. I know there's some of you here. Would you please stand? This committee gets together just about once a year, but we have a good time. We enjoy being able to read about the wonderful things that are being done in the Kansas judicial system and for lawyers and people across the state of Kansas. I want to thank Dina and Meg and this KBA staff. They always do a wonderful job of putting this awards luncheon on. So again, thank you all for coming. We look forward to seeing you next June in Topeka. And if you happen to cross paths with one of the awards recipients today, make sure you stop and tell them congratulations. They deserve it.